Hello, campers. I'm Tom Fury. This is Zero News. So, I have waited to the last minute because there's been a lot of stuff going on in my area. I told you about the councils trying to take over, bigger councils trying to take over smaller councils and all kinds. And there's a couple of councils in my area and they kind of overlap. So, it makes voting a little bit more interesting. I say interesting, complicated in my area. Not for the voters' from point of view, but just from trying to work out who runs what, if that makes any sense. Anyway, only reason I actually turned on to talk about this is because a real life scenario, exactly like the ones I was describing, is happening in my area, and this is exactly why I've said to you that just touting one party and pretending you're holding your nose is a bit disingenuous. And here is why. In my area, I've checked out everything I can. Obviously, a poll is a poll. We don't know who's going to win. That's the whole point of having them. But in certain areas, you can say who's most likely to win. In certain areas, you can say who the top two parties are that look. Do you know what I mean? In most areas, unless there's a massive swing, um, there's a precedent. Obviously, there's going to be precedents broken. That's the nature of politics, especially with what's going on at the moment. But in my area, it's been a traditionally conservative seat, and occasionally swings to Liberal Democrats, and has never done anything else. Liberal Democrats or Conservative. And the guy that's in at the moment went from Conservative. So the last person voted in was Conservative. He went independent, but he's not running. So I'm in a position here where the Reform candidate is down the field, not looking like he's going to make an impact in my area. Um, and so the two leading parties, once again, are likely to be Democrats and Conservatives. Maybe the Greens are in there, but it doesn't even look like the Greens are really getting in there. It doesn't look like they're going to have a massive presence in my area either. You got maybe I don't even know, maybe more chance of Labour. So my point being is my choices here are split the vote with going Reform and not winning, definitely not winning. I say definitely, almost definitely not winning in my area because people just aren't biting for Reform. But if we want to hold our nose, as people have put it, and vote for something that is not the Green Party or Labour, well, the most likely right wing, meaning centre left, party to win in my area is going to be the Conservatives. The most likely left wing party to win in my area is going to be more likely Labour or Liberal Democrat kind of territory. The Greens are in there, but all the Greens and all the other parties are all quite low down in terms of where they're polling at the moment, in terms of the popularity and the precedent. So in my area, if I vote tomorrow, which I'm still going over in my head, because I'm voting for evil. Why am I voting for evil if I'm voting? But if I vote tomorrow, if I take certain advice that people have given and vote Reform, I feel like I'm just throwing it in the toilet because it's not going to get that party to win. And nobody else, it seems, in this area feels much. They feel they might as well stick with the devil they know, which is Conservatives, because Reform is Conservative 2.0, and everybody knows it's full of Conservative candidates. So, and again, I'm not speaking for everybody's area. I can only tell you about my area. And in my area, the two tops, I say, the one top right or supposed right wing party is the Conservatives. Now, talk about having to hold your nose. That is having to hold your nose. If I vote, then they're the only realistic party that is at least going to try and stop the councils here from being merged. Yeah, so they are the only line of defence, and they are not much of a line of defence, are they? Because they got us here in the first place. So my only point I've been trying to make to you over the last few days, and I know I've got angry about it, is that there's going to be many people in a position like I'm in, Conservative or nothing, Reform or nothing, independent candidate or nothing, in terms of centre to right wing votes. And we have to say centre, right? Because that's what we really mean. Conservative, centre. Reform, centre. Yeah, so call it right wing all you want. It doesn't make it right wing. So my choices here are going to be like many people's around the country. You're going to be limited. Maybe you might only have Reform to vote for because they might be the most likely to win in your area. In which case, maybe you should vote for them. But that's my point. These are local elections. It changes from area to area. Some people are sticking to the voting precedents they've done for the last 50 years. Other people are breaking the voting patterns. Depends where you go in the country and what kind of problems and issues they've got. Now, in my area, remember, the issues are localised to certain areas like Southampton. Southampton isn't the same council that runs the area that I'm in, even though I'm right next to Southampton. That makes a big difference because we're not dealing with the same problems they're dealing with just over the river in Southampton. Makes a huge difference to people's voting opinions because they're not dealing with the same issues. You're dealing with the issues in your area. And that's why in my area, for whatever reason, people aren't biting on reform because they just see it as conservative, so they are going for a conservative vote. I think I've voted Conservative once in my life. I don't like voting Conservative, but if I do go down there to vote tomorrow, I'm going to vote for the party that is not the Greens or Labour that's most likely to win. In my area, that is the Conservative Party. So I'm either going to no vote or I'm going to vote Conservative. I've got no choice. If I want to vote, if I want to take part in democracy, those are the only two choices if I want to vote, because nobody else on the centre to right has a chance of winning. So, what would you do? Just throw away a vote on reform anyway because some YouTuber said so? No. And this is not about having a go at him, by the way, or anybody else. This is exactly the nuance I was trying to inject into this conversation. I think the May elections have been blown up on YouTube to be way, way bigger and more meaningful than they really are because people want to get reform into these seats for the general election. I think it's pretty obvious that that's what they're doing. But it's disingenuous because there's going to be a lot of people who might go and vote reform thinking other people do the same thing. If you're in an area where they're doing well, it's a good vote. But in certain other areas like mine, they're not really in the running. So it really depends what area and what your specific problems are as to what people are voting towards. So this is the nuance that hasn't been discussed. This is what happens when you're living in the country and living in the county. The things that should have been discussed. If we're talking about what YouTubers should have spoke about, it's the particular area you're in that should have been spoken about, rather than making out like this is national politics, like this is a general election. Which, certain people have been treating it like that, and then making out that reform is the only show in town. Well, sorry, but this is exactly what I meant. If I vote reform, I might as well just spoil my ballot paper because it will have the same effect. If I vote Conservative, then I'm going with the herd, admittedly, but I'm at least slowing down slightly the chances of the Greens or Labour getting back in there. So what would you do? Those are my choices. Conservative, waste a vote on reform who are going to come nowhere close, or don't vote. And many people are going to find themselves in some kind of similar position. In your area, you may find it's an independent candidate that is most likely to win or is in the top run-ins. It might be an independent and Labour in your area, and it might be heading towards Labour. You might have this wherever you are. So this is, and I didn't actually know this was about my area because I checked at the last minute because I really wanted to leave it to the last minute. But my voting options are Conservative, in terms of winning, Conservative or vote for the left, or not vote at all. So this is all I've been trying to say over the last few days. It's easy when you're in another country or whatever else to talk about it like it's a general election, like it's all pulling in the same direction. Each county has its own problems, own issues, own things it needs to deal with, and there are certain councils that do it better than others. And yeah, that's the simple fact of it. And that's not anything smart. That's just local politics, and that's what this is supposed to be about: local politics, not setting us up for the next general election. And that's what I think other people are trying to do. They're just worrying about the next general election. They're treating this like a general election. All I'll say to you is, if you go out en masse to vote for any singular party, you'll lose. So again, if it's about holding your nose, truly about that, then I can only suggest that you vote again. My choice will be for the most likely non-Green, non-Labour party that's going to actually win. And there's something like a 59% chance of, or I say 59%, it's normally about 59% in favour of the Conservatives in my area, and that trend looks to be continuing. So what would you do? Vote reform anyway because a crazy YouTuber told you to? No, I've got to look after the best interests of my area. So either don't vote vote Conservative. Not a great choice. Not a great choice, but this is the choice or a similar choice that many of you around the country are going to face that hasn't been spoken about because it's not been spoken about honestly. And that's it. That's my rest and argument on that. Make your own minds up because it's your own area that's been affected here. This is not a general election, and people shouldn't keep treating it like one. Whatever happens, I wish you all the best. If you're one of the people one of the areas that gets to vote, I wish you all the best. I hope you can keep the Greens out. I really do. But remember, it's not a general election, and there's many a slip twixt a cup on the lip. So one way or another, we can still get there no matter what happens. So let's see what happens. But I wanted to tell you this because this is my own story from my own place. I wasn't even expecting. There was an independent candidate, as I said, who was going to run away with it, and he's stepped down. So it's like, oh, it's Conservative basically then. Dom's going to go vote for the independent. He actually had a strong chance of winning, but the Conservative is actually was beating him anyway. So that's the position I'm in, and those are my only choices. So this is the realism I was trying to inject in the conversation the other day. Now, perhaps I did it the wrong way. Perhaps I approached it the wrong way. But it's this kind of nuance and this kind of difference between county to county that I was trying to get across that makes just saying one party's name disingenuous. Because that party is not even looking to threaten seats in many places. So you tell me if that's a wasted vote or not. And yet, we're calling for unity at the same time. Makes no sense. So it's going to be a bit of a mess. This local election business, I think it is going to be a bit of a mess. We just really need to get ourselves sorted out for a general election. I think that's what we need to focus on. Go and vote, do whatever you want to do, but at the same time, let's not treat this with more importance than it really deserves. In terms of, we know where it really counts, right? These people get all of the councils. Like I said, I don't want them getting all of the councils in my area because we're already fighting to keep these councils alive. They're the only thing stopping certain people from being moved into our areas. So it is important. Believe me, it is important. But that's why it's important to not waste a vote on someone who's not going to get in when I could put it on the Conservatives. And I know that although the Conservatives have got none of our best interests at heart, they've got their own interests at heart and they wish to keep the council here running and not have it taken over. So that's why I've got to go with them, and the fact that they're most likely to win, because they are the only people standing in the way of the left merging all the councils together and then moving migrants into this area. The one thing the Conservatives in this area are going to do is fight to keep those councils. So that's why in my local area, it is not really a choice for me. If I vote, I've got one option: to fight for the survival of the council in my area. Otherwise, it's going to be merged, and the Muslims and other people are going to be pushed into this area like crazy. That's not conspiracy theory. That's what we know will happen. That's why you really should focus on your local area and not worry about nationwide politics at a time like this. Of course, you think about that as well, but tactical voting, give me a fucking break. Tactically worry about your fucking community. That's where it matters. As far as your vote is your own. All I'm doing is offering you my experience today with going and finding out, talking to people and finding out what the score is. I'm like, oh, okay. So pretty much I've got two choices: don't vote or Conservative. Those are my choices if I wish that vote to mean anything. So just thought I'd let you know what my experience was. Right, Tom Fury, Zero News, calling it day for now.